Well, well. Didn't think anyone was left. You must be pretty tough. Huh.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking on the T-Virus and its many forms in the fight for our lives as we tank control our way through the hardest boss fight from every Resident Evil game. For this list, we'll be looking at the hardest boss from only the mainline entries in the Resident Evil series. What was the hardest and most intimidating boss you fought in a Resident Evil game? Let us know down in the comments.
Welcome to the family, son.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Queen Leech, Resident Evil 0.
We'll see which one of us is gonna die.
The Resident Evil series and its ability to take a common creature and twist it into a nightmarish version of its former self is a hallmark of the franchise. Resident Evil 0 ups the ante by not only making the Queen Leech sentient, but also giving her the ability to shapeshift and making her nearly invulnerable. Initially taking on the form of the scientist that was experimenting on her, the Queen reveals her true, horrendously mutated form to Billy and Rebecca after confidently laying out her world domination plans, because monologuing is also a side effect of the T-Virus. After an initial encounter, she returns bigger and madder than ever. The confined space and enormous size of the Queen Leech does give her an advantage, but at least with help from Rebecca, Billy was able to shine some light on the situation and end her reign before it began. Yawn, Resident Evil Remake. Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? One of the first mutated BOW's Alpha Team encounters in the Spencer Mansion, this massive snake is first encountered in the attic, where the player's role in this fight is to simply survive long enough for the snake to finish off Richard so the player can acquire his shotgun to chase the snake off for the time being. Yawn will reappear later in the library, and with no backup this time, it's a fight to the death, mano a mano. Slithering its way between the bookshelves, the snake can no longer poison the player, but that doesn't make it any less deadly. With Richard's shotgun in hand, it's time to dish out some payback and put an end to the coiling nightmare for good. Mr. X, Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Jesus, stay back!
X is gonna give it to you, alright. In what would seem to become a running theme in many future entries of the Resident Evil franchise, Mr. X, or Tyrant, would relentlessly stalk the player through the halls of the RCPD, and even though he could be put down, this reprieve would only be temporary, and only seem to enrage him further. Able to follow the player through to different rooms, nowhere was safe from this proto-Terminator, and that's even before his eventual transformation. This is Resident Evil after all. Not that he really needed it, as Mr. X will let nothing stand in his way, not even a few minor explosions. Taking a mutated claw or a direct hit from a rocket launcher, that'll do it though, depending on whether you're playing Claire or Leon's campaign respectively. Nemesis, Resident Evil 3 Remake.
You gotta get out of there right now!
Alright, let me grab mine.
Whereas Mr. X managed to be an intimidating force with nothing more than a trench coat and a fedora, Nemesis adopts a much more in-your-face approach. Deployed into Raccoon City during the height of the outbreak to hunt down any remaining STARS operatives in an attempt to cover up Umbrella's involvement, Nemesis relentlessly stalks Jill Valentine during her attempts to escape the crumbling city. Each time she thinks she's taken him out for good, he reappears even more mutated than the last time she saw him. Each encounter consistently has Jill on the back foot due to the Nemesis' size and strength that only increases with every subsequent encounter. Jill's resourcefulness and apparent ability to withstand firepower that can crush concrete gives her the edge and leaves her nemesis in pieces. T-078, Resident Evil Code Veronica. Whereas Mr. X and Nemesis were evolutions of the Tyrant line of BOWs created by Umbrella, the T-078 is one from a mass-produced line, meaning untold numbers of this entity were created. Don't think that just because it's from an assembly line that this makes the T-078 any less of a threat, however. Although the T-078 only encounters Claire a couple of times during her investigation of Rockfort Island, Claire at least has some experience dealing with tyrants, having survived Mr. X not long ago. Much like its counterparts, the T-078 is built to never give up until its target has been eliminated, and it takes this directive very seriously, even following Claire and Steve as they finally escape the island. Given the cramped corridors of the plane's loading bay, the T-078 clearly has the upper hand until Claire manages to send him packing with a parting gift. Verdugo, Resident Evil 4.
Kill!
We're all familiar with the joke about the two kids in a trench coat, but did you hear the one about the Predator-Alien hybrid in a robe? Salazar's muscle, Verdugo, isn't a fight you necessarily win, you just do a little better each time. Seemingly just looking for any opportunity when Leon is waiting for a shutter or elevator door to open, Verdugo is a battle of resilience rather than outright winning the fight. Nearly impossible to kill, Leon must dodge its attacks and simply survive a given time limit until he can make his escape. There is a way to put Verdugo down for good if you know what you're doing, and send a chill up its spine the way it did ours as soon as it dropped its robes. Albert Wesker, Resident Evil 5.
Stop playing around. We want some answers.
You haven't changed.
Wesker, you are alive.
Just as the T-Virus is synonymous with the Resident Evil series, so too is Albert Wesker as the face of the shadowy Umbrella Corporation.
Now, let's finish this once and for all.
After his double agent status was revealed, Wesker became Chris's personal vendetta, and this all came to a head in the middle of an active volcano. All of Chris's training had prepared him for this moment, but not for Wesker's inevitable transformation and subsequent acceptance of the monster within. With virtually no help from Shiva, it's up to Chris and his guns to put Wesker down like the backstabbing traitor he is. It's all so infuriating it just makes you want to punch a boulder. In the end, Jill comes through with a helicopter packing handy rocket launchers that seem to come equipped standard in all vehicles in the RE universe, and with a couple well-placed shots and an entire volcano, Wesker's treachery is finally put to an end. Derek Simmons, Resident Evil 6. It's a tale as old as time. Boy hires mysterious femme fatale. Boy falls for girl. Girl rejects boy. Boy becomes an unstoppable, ever-mutating abomination. Even if the mutation started against his will, Simmons wholeheartedly embraced it, not only becoming one of the most evolved mutations in Resident Evil canon, but also one of the few that could switch back to his human form seemingly at will. Even with a train to catch, he never stopped pursuing Leon, Helena, and Ada across the city, and let his rage even send him back to the prehistoric era. Just when Leon and company thought he might be gone for good, Simmons is resilient, and even after falling for Ada all over again, returns like an annoying fly you just can't swat. And then, like a bolt of lightning, it was over. And thanks to a parting gift from Ada, Simmons finally got the point. Jack Baker. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
Do I have your attention, boy? You're about to see something wonderful.
You just can't keep a good man down. The patriarch of the Baker family, Jack won't let anything stand between him and his family. Not Ethan, walls, bullets, cars, fire, dismemberment. Okay, this is getting out of hand. Jack Baker seems to delight in living through any and all types of assault delivered by Ethan in his desperate attempts to escape the Baker mansion, even seemingly encouraging Ethan to do his worst. You would think something as insane as a chainsaw fight to the death would be enough to put Jack down for good, but horrifically, no, it isn't. Jack has eyes everywhere, and all of them are targeting Ethan for disrupting his family home. With all the attention squarely on him, Ethan gives Jack a black eye he'll never forget and puts his lights out permanently. Heisenberg, Resident Evil Village.
Last chance. You don't have to find out what's in that hole.
I'll take my chances.
You're futile.
Say his name. Mutated by Mother Miranda, Heisenberg is a master of ferrokinesis, and this power allows him to bend all forms of metal to his will, which he uses to great effect against Ethan Winters after the latter managed to escape his factory. His mutated form is an amalgamation of machine parts that towers over Ethan and their battlefield, but Ethan has a machine of his own thanks to Chris Redfield.
That boulder punching asshole!
Even with this additional firepower, Heisenberg won't go down easily. Heisenberg throws every piece of metal he can from the surrounding area at Ethan and uses the scraps to make himself even more formidable. The battle turns up the difficulty once Ethan's mech is destroyed, and the remainder of the fight has Ethan on the defensive, fighting at an enraged Heisenberg from afar until Ethan temporarily regains control of his mech for one final shot to send the metal monstrosity to the scrap heap.
This can't be the end for me! I must kill her!
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips for MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.